So welcome to Seton Hall's Summer Resource Workshop with the Career Center. My name is Olivia, and I'm a intern for the Office of Student Engagement. I'll be monitoring the chat, so if you have any questions, please pop them in there. But we also have a few minutes for Q&A at the end, so you can also just unmute your mic. Yeah, take it away.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Justin Krass. I'm the Associate Director with the Career Center on campus. As Olivia said, she is going to be looking at the chat, and we're the goal is to keep this pretty informal. So I certainly have some stuff I want to cover with you. But if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. I can't see them, but Olivia will give me a heads up. Or if you want to unmute yourself and get clarification on something, please. The goal is really to give you guys an idea of kind of our office, how we support students, and I want to make sure you get the most out of it. So please, don't hesitate to ask any questions, whatever. I'm happy to go over it. So, you will see our contact information is on the slide now. And I can certainly put our phone number and our email in the chat before we wrap up as well. But we are located in Bailey Hall, room 209. For those of you that have been on campus or when you are on campus, we are above where the registrar is and financial aid. So if you go to that building, just go up a flight and that's where you'll find us. Okay. So to start with a couple of questions, and feel free to unmute yourself, put it in the chat, but just kind of I think good food for thought and show kind of the strength of most degrees is showing what different folks majored and kind of where they end up. So John Legend, if you don't know, is a major musician, very famous. He's been on The Voice for a number of years. I think for a couple of years, he had the most popular wedding song for about 3 or 4 years running. But anybody have any idea what John Legend's major was?
David guesses musical arts.
Great guess, given what he does. Absolutely. Anybody else? I will say music is not right, but not as far off as you think. So his major was English. And so I think certainly as a songwriter, which is I think how he likes to view himself, that makes sense, right? Understanding the written word and language and how to put it together. So Lisa Kudrow, who I'm sure most of us know from Friends, but has been acting for a number of years, went to Vassar over in New York. Anybody have any idea what her major was? No guesses here. I don't know if people are a little gun shy here, but I do want to be mindful of the time. So her major was biology, right, which is not what most folks would think of. And I think she actually was published in an article too. I forget what the topic was, but back when she was at Vassar. And then Mayam Bialik, who a lot of us know from The Big Bang Theory, or depending on your age and demographic, you might remember her from Blossom. And now I think she is one of the hosts of Jeopardy. I don't know. I haven't watched in a number of years. I have a small kid at home. We don't watch that much TV anymore. Anybody have any idea what her degree is in? Now, of course, I'm going to forget. It is not. Oh, is somebody guessing?
Guessed biology majors.
Pretty close. I'm forgetting the exact. She has a PhD. I want to say it's in
neuro. I think she's got a physicist, isn't she? Like a doctor.
Yeah, she's got a PhD. I think it's in neurochemistry, neurobiology. It's one of the neuro somethings. But yeah, she is a published author and she's taught a number of years before she started acting again. So she ended up really on the right show. Yeah, I don't think it might be neurobiology. Yeah. Either way, it goes to show you different folks in different places. So focusing back on our office a little bit, the way I like to describe our services is we support students with achieving their goals, and we do that in 3 main ways. The first is with issues related to career planning, career decision-making, career development, anything along those lines. And so that can be for the students who have no idea what they want to do, how do I figure it out, and how do I take next steps, to the students that know exactly where they want to go and what are the different A, B, and C's that are going to help them get there, and everything in between, including I thought I knew, but now I don't. right? That's part of what we help students do, because I like to say, know why you're making decisions. That's going to help you make the decisions that make the most sense for you. The second area I'd say is skill development. That's your resumes, your cover letter, LinkedIn, networking, all those tools you're going to use to get your part-time jobs, your volunteering, your internships while you're in school, and then post your undergraduate, whether that's your job, grad school, whatever, all those tools that are going to help you get those roles. And the last is helping you connect with what's next. And I say that generally because I know for some students that could be an internship, for some that's a job, for some that's graduate school. We have resources to help students in all those different areas. So we have Handshake, that's a job and internship database that has, I think last time I checked, over 20,000 different postings annually. We do major events. We do a fall career fair, a spring career fair. We do some more specific industry networking events like our media, sports, and marketing networking forum. We've historically done a science and healthcare networking forum in the spring. We do a few other events of that nature. We do info sessions with different companies. Last year, I did one with Uncommon Schools. I did one with NJ Transit. Who else did I do one with last year? A couple other ones I'm going blank on. We did one with the South Orange Police Department, U.S. Capitol Police. I worked with the social science majors last year. I should have said that. But we also meet one-on-one with students to help them with specific strategies that make sense for them. Like if you're from Florida, what are different things you can do to help connect with folks there? We talk with students about the graduate school application process. We help them with their essays for graduate school, all those different areas. And the one thing that's not kind of in those three buckets is the saying is once a pirate, always a pirate. So alumni are always welcome. I'm going to focus back to that first one on the list as well. Every student has a dedicated career advisor. I'm sure you've heard about how every student has an advising team with either somebody from a specific program or in the Center for Academic Success. There's somebody from the faculty of their major and then somebody from the Career Center. So they're going to be working with that person for their entire time at Seton Hall to really help them get to know. And our advisors work with specific industries, specific cohorts, so they really get to know that as well. Okay. I think that's one of the real great strengths. And you can see our team there. And we have our website, which is the top URL. We also have another toolkit that probably will be getting phased out during the next year. But we have a lot of great resources there. If you haven't taken a look at it, I certainly invite you to go there and take a look at it. We have some great resources like resumes, toolkits. We have information on how to use Handshake. All of our upcoming events are on there. You can also see some information about post-graduation. I know there's sometimes questions about that, but certainly one of the great landing points and certainly something I recommend you take a look at, when you get to campus or a little bit before. So just a general thing that I always recommend, I think is really important for first year students is just really think about, as I said, why are you making those decisions? And we've got a nice fancy definition up at the top of the slide here of what is career planning and decision making. But ultimately, it's about figuring out why you do things and making sure you're always making decisions that fit what you want to do and where you want to get. And like most things in college, we love our acronyms. So I'm going to say our VIPs, but your values, your interests, your personality, and your skills, right? What are those values? And I don't mean moral, right or wrong values, but what do you value in your life, right? For some people, that could be making a positive impact. For others, it might be making six figures. For others, it might be being able to travel. It's not good, it's not bad, knowing what's going to move the needle for you. With interest, I think we all know the expression, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Right? I love what I do, but I work every day. It's really more about what's going to keep you motivated, excited. One, keep growing and developing as a professional, right? Personality, yes, it's about your personality, but a better way of describing it is each workplace is going to have its own culture or personality and finding the best fit for your personality. And then skills, we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. And I'd love to tell you that your job is just going to be your strengths, but the reality is you want to find the things going to maximize your strengths and the areas where you're not as strong and you're comfortable with what you need to do. And for students that are unsure or thought they knew and then kind of revisit that decision, we have My Plan. That's an assessment that can help them. We have a few others, but we have some tools to help them with gathering that information and getting a better sense of themselves. Right, because another way of looking at it is really trying to identify what are your gifts, what are things that you do well naturally, skills, things that you've learned how to do and that you're able to do, and then interest, what's something that you really want to do and that you find really exciting. Like if you think about, I think I always think about my wife with something like this. She just loves music and pretty much she just sings to herself constantly and walking around. It's just something that really likes her, and so she'll spend hours learning different songs and different things like that. She's in a choral group. And that's great, and that's really, something that interests her. So that's something that helps move her forward. And really, the goal, and for the students or the that are here, think about what are things that you do naturally, what are things you've learned to, and what are things that you want to devote that time to. And for parents, that's part of what I would encourage you to try and talk about with your son or daughter to kind of help them find that thing that's really going to help them be the most successful during their time at Seton Hall and get the most out of their experience here. So there's one thing I will quickly stop sharing my screen and put this in the chat if anybody wants to do this now. So this is a little assessment, neuroscience. Thank you for looking that up, Marilyn. Okay, sorry, bear with me one sec. So this is a self-assessment that is put together by the Blair Singer Group. It's just a fun little way of looking at different interests and different ways to be successful. So if you get a moment and you want to do it, please, by all means. I'm not going to stop now because unfortunately, sometimes it takes a while for everyone to get through. I think it's not designed for a lot of people doing it at once. But basically, it's this company that does sales and is looking at what type of salesperson you are. Because if you've ever done sales, there's not one way to be successful. Some people are really successful by going up to others. Some are by providing support, others by waiting, answering questions. I don't think that there's a good or a bad. And that's one of the things that I really think is great about this assessment is it really points out it's not that there's a right or a wrong way. It's about identifying the way that's true to you, right? Like a lot of people worked in retail when I was in college and younger, and I was never going to be the one that was going to get the sell by going out and saying you should do this, this, this. That just doesn't fit who I am. But I was the one that was going to say, okay, what do you like? And let me find the way to support that. Or if you like this, let me show you something similar. Let me go out of my way to kind of show you that this is the benefit, right? So for me, I am definitely a little bit more of the retriever, and I think I'm a little bit more of the chihuahua, right? When you take this, and you'll see different people, and it's not a good or a bad. It's about identifying what's the thing that's true to you, because that's ultimately what's going to help you be successful. And I think one of the best things you can do during your first year on campus. And another way of looking at it is this, right? A lot of times we think about from the idea of my major and what can I do with it. And that's absolutely a great starting point. But another way I think of looking at it is your major is going to be your foundation. And for those of you, think about your part-time jobs, or for some of the parents that are joining us, think about, where you've worked. I'm going to guess your employer has never said, hey, I need a communication major. I need an English major. They're more like, hey, who's really good at organization? Who's really good at the written word? Who's really good at creating designs or ways of bringing in new traffic, right? They're thinking about what does that role require? They're looking a little bit more on that function list. And almost every degree is going to give you this huge list of skills. The example I always like to share here is I remember a couple years ago, I was supporting the history department. They were doing an event called What Can You Do with a Degree in History? And they brought in some alum who were working in different fields and maybe not ones that you'd think of, right? Like there's somebody who was working in HR at Christie's, there's somebody who was managing a nonprofit, somebody that had worked in government and now is working in higher ed. And, they were talking about the different things. And one of the last questions was, what does your degree let you do? And what they all said, and I'm paraphrasing, unfortunately, because I can't say it as well as they did, but what they basically said is that my degree taught me how to tell a story. And then they each kind of went in to say how that degree helped them do that. Right. And I think that's really one of the things I would encourage you to think about is really, what's the foundation that your major is going to give you? What function or role do you want to play and where do you want to do it? Right. And that's what's going to help you get that focus and help you give that direction so that, year one, year two, year three, you're always maximizing getting the most out of your time and your degree. Right. And so a couple of recommendations that I want to give just to help, the students or for parents to share with your son or daughter to help them get started. Really think about what are you interested in and why, right? So that you're able to answer those questions. Or when you get to the point where you have electives, you can pick the ones that better fit your interest or allow you to explore things that you might be interested in, or maybe add in a minor that's going to help supplement it. Right? Get to know your professors, they're experts, they know the subject matter and they will be happy to talk to you about it. Find that place where you want to keep talking about it. Learn to network. And I know a lot of times when we hear network, we think, oh my God, it's this big deal or it's so hard or whatever. It's really communication for business purposes. And we all already do that, right? Think about when you're a student and you miss class, so you sit and you talk to the person next to you about what was the assignment. That's networking, right? And so it's really more about building out that network, getting to know people, learning to make those connections, because we all trust the people we know over the people we don't know. And if you can start doing that your first year, even if it's make 2 connections every semester, by the time you graduate, that's going to be 15 to 20 people that know you and are able to talk about you and your skills and really want to advocate for you. right? I am a career counselor, right? I am going to talk about internships and experience. And I will say it doesn't have to be called an internship. It's really whatever experience is going to make sense for you, whether it's a volunteer, a job, internship, whatever, right? But start getting out there and getting that experience. That's going to help you learn what you like. It's going to help you develop skills that you can only sometimes get in the workplace. And it's going to help make you, increase your opportunities post graduation. Plan now. The sooner you start planning, the better off you're going to be. I always say connect and network, right? Think about potential on-campus leadership roles, and you're going to see in a few slides, one of my 5 pieces of recommendation is that, you do try and join a couple of student clubs during your first year, or maybe think about being a leader, having a leadership role during that second year. It's a great way to build experience, a great way to get to know people, and it can really help you stand out when you start to look for some things off campus and have fun. You're at college, right? That's part of the experience is, meeting different people, trying things out, seeing what you like, seeing what you don't like, getting exposure to some topics you may not have been able to take in high school or, depending on where you live, right? I went to high school. There were 93 people in my graduating class, right? We didn't have a lot of electives. And that was one of the things I loved about college. I could try different things, see if I liked it, see if I didn't, see what was that best fit. So really enjoy it. And as I said, most companies are expecting you to have one internship, but it's really any type of experience. So if you have to work and that's part of your journey, great. That's, there are ways, don't feel like you have to intern. It's the key is get out there, get experience. And employers are going to be looking to see at least 1 or 2 things on your resume or graduate school, same thing, right? And really meet with us one-on-one. You can see when you go to our website, some of the things that we have here is kind of pirate plans. Some of them are based on milestones rather than years. Some of them are based on years. But these are kind of guideposts to help you say, okay, what should I be looking at my first year, or how should I get started? And then once I do that, what's step 2? And then what's step 3, right? Really to help make sure that you're getting the most out of your time here and make sure you're hitting those benchmarks that are going to help you be successful, right? Because I think the bottom line is everyone is coming to college with somewhere they want to end up afterwards, right? And I know a lot of us have the expectation. So part of the reason you're here is because that's what the expected next step is. But you still want to be able to say when you graduate, all right, now I can go do X or Y or Z or whatever. And these plans are to help you kind of get to that point. And if you don't see one exactly for your major or your interest, that's okay. You can do the general one. And when you meet with your career advisor, they can kind of tailor one of these a little bit more for you. So I'm almost at the end here. I'm going to guess there haven't been any questions, but 5 things I'm going to recommend for the students or to mention to your son or daughter, for the parents here. Read emails. Each of the different advisors send emails to their cohorts. So really read those. And I would say try and meet your advisor at least once during the first year. Depending on your major, the timing may or may not be more important. If you're in the finance or accounting field, you probably want to try and get in there and maybe not the first week, but probably within the first month. Applications for summer internships, particularly if you want to be with the Big Four, are going to be during that first 2 months. So the sooner you can start working on that and coming up with a plan, the better. If we have anybody that is in the pre-med space, some of the applications for summer applications are definitely by the, probably November or December of that first year. So you want to get and connected with that advisor and start talking to them. Really early on. So, I mean, it really varies, and that's part of why you want to get to know each of the different advisors, criminal justice. Sometimes, the applications might be 1 or 2 semesters ahead, depending on where you want to go. As I mentioned, join at least one student club or organization. If you haven't heard about Engage already, I put a link there. You may not be able to log in until you're on campus, but that's the tool that we use to manage all of our student orgs. They're all in there. You can find contact information. They put events and when they're taking place, so you can go to them and sign up. Absolutely, I would say to go do that. Attend at least one event. I put a link to the Career Center calendar here, but by no means do I think that that's the only place. Lots of departments are doing great events. The English department does What Can You Do with a Degree in English every fall. The history department has done the event that I mentioned. There were humanity career fairs a couple years prior to the pandemic. I mean, there's lots of really great things on campus, like during our Petersheim Awards, which is a research symposium. One of the newer events this year was basically a bunch of people talking about the research that's going on campus if you want to get involved. So I think there's a lot of really awesome things out there. And connect with one faculty member or professional. I'm going to say do both, but, start with whichever one you're more comfortable with. Okay. And just kind of things that I'm going to say are general recommendations is be curious, try different things, see what you like. If I'm honest, I never would have told you I was going to end up where I am, and I love it. It's absolutely the right place for me, but that's partly because I tried different things. right? And found the fit that made sense for me. And I certainly would encourage you to do that. That's part of why you have electives. It's part of to give you that space to try different things and see what works. And part of what I love about, liberal arts degrees, you do get to see and try different things, and let the long-term picture evolve. I know a lot of times there's this idea that, we need to know exactly what we want to do. And there's certainly people that do, right? Like I had friends that from a young age, like I'm going to be a lawyer. And when I talk to them now, what are they? They're a lawyer, right? And they're doing great and they're loving it. But for most of us, it's something that we have to get some exposure. It takes time. We have to try things out, learn them. So, I mean, don't worry so much if you don't know exactly 30 years down the road. Know what is it you want to do? How do you want to make that impact? What do you want to do? And start to fill in the pieces as you get there. Build your network. That's, you've heard me say that a few times. So clearly you can see it's something that I'm going to say is a big way to help you be successful and get ahead. I already talked about the bug one, and have fun. I want to repeat it because that's part of why you're in college, right? Is to have fun and try out different things and really enjoy that experience. And so I'm going to put this in the chat before we wrap up, but you can see these are all of our different advisors in the different areas. So everyone here should see the different majors, for whoever they're working with. As you can see, I work with the folks that are choosing or changing a major or the psychology students. So I'll put this in there, and certainly if you have any questions, you can let me know once I stop sharing my screen. Here's our contact information. You can follow us on Instagram. We have a lot of great stuff there. You can sign up for text alerts. There's instructions there, link to our toolkit. And I have here, if anybody does want more information about my plan, I do have that here at the end of the slideshow, but that's more of informational purposes than anything else. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now and just open up. Does anybody have any questions? Anything I can do to help you out while I put some of
I
those
didn't
links?
see any screen sharing.
I'm sorry?
I couldn't see any screen sharing at all.
Was nobody able to see that? I know there's been some strange thing going on where the just bandwidth, it doesn't always share right away, but Olivia, were you able to see my screen?
I saw it for the first part, but not after the link you sent
Not
in
after
the
I
chat.
put the thing in?
But all of the information that you need, like I put it into the chat, like the emails as well as the phone number and like the location of the career center. I put it all into the chat, so you guys still have the information.
I will also share my screen and show that again. My apologies. Give me one sec. Thank you for letting me know, David. Okay. Sorry, it's just uploading now. Give me one sec. Okay, so if nothing else, I'm putting a copy in the chat here, and I will put, I see that Olivia already put our contact information in there. Thank you. I'm also going to put my contact information. You could feel free to follow up with me, as well as my number. Then my apologies on that. I will go over that slideshow again. Thank you for letting me know, David. Can you see my screen now? That's so weird.
Yes.
Because it was telling me that I could see that you guys were seeing my screen, but clearly that didn't happen. The joys of technology, right? It's great until it's not. So just kind of a refresher, this is the self-assessment. If you were able to take the sales dog quiz, you can see this is the slide related to that. Here are the Venn diagram where I was talking about, figure out what your focus or foundation is, how do you want to apply those skills or what impact you want to make, and then what industry or where you want to do it. That was this slide. These are just the general tips that I started for how to get off to a good start. Here is the information with the different pirate plans, and as well as the URL at the bottom. You can see how to access those on our website. Here are the 5 things I recommend doing. You can see we have the link for Engage and the link for our calendar of events, which right now doesn't have too much because we're still planning a lot of them. It's got our fall career fair and our media, sports, and marketing networking forum are on there. I think the finance networking forum should be on there shortly if it's not already. This was just kind of the be curious and explore. Here is the list of advisors with all of their contact information and each of the different areas that they work with. Then the information for text to Instagram if you want to follow either of those. And then here's the information for my plan if you're interested in trying that. But yeah, sorry about that. What other questions? What else can I do to help anybody out? I know we have a couple of parents, a couple of students. For the students, what are your majors? I might be able to give you some specific recommendations if you guys want to share that in the chat. Criminal justice, awesome. So I worked with them until earlier this year. A lot of great opportunities going on there. I would say, because there's the required internship, you probably want to touch base with the Career Center in Victoria at some point during your first year, just because depending on where you want to go, there might be specific timelines. Like for the FBI, there's basically two months or maybe 6 weeks to apply every year for their summer internship, but they come to almost all of our career fairs, as does the DEA, ATF. We have a lot of good partnerships with the local area. I'd certainly encourage you get connected, get to know the faculty there. They're awesome. But yeah, definitely come in the first month. And if you're not familiar with a federal resume, I'd say take a look at the website Partnership for Public Service. They have some great resources, but definitely the first semester for you. Computer science. Yeah, so David, my recommendation for you is just going to be get out there and try different things and learn as many languages and different tech that you can. The thing with the computer science field is they want to see what have you done. They really want to get an idea of different work samples, different projects, portfolios. You can do hackathons. I mean, certainly if you want to go to the city, there's a lot of opportunities there. The faculty there know about all those different opportunities. Nadia can help you find some of those things as well. But you're going to really want to make sure you're getting as much practical experience as you can because they want to see what you've done. Now, computer experience is also broad. I don't know whether you mean programming, whether you mean networking, the hardware, the help. Like, I don't know what area you within that specifically, but I would say you want to try and do as much as you can. So I might say like first semester, first year, try and learn those different languages. If you don't know Python or anything like that, or any of the newer ones, you want to be doing that and then get as much practice as you can using those. Carolyn, I don't know if you mean a communications degree or if you're talking to the College of Communication and the Arts. Is there a specific area within that or just broadly? And Crystal and David, if you have any follow-up questions, please unmute yourself, put it in the chat. I can certainly try and clarify a little bit more if you'd like broadly. So, I mean, communication, some of it is, and thank you, Carolyn. Some of it's going to depend on what you want to do. If you're looking more on the graphic design or production, a lot of the advice that I gave for David of just getting out there, getting the experience and getting the exposure is absolutely going to be the same thing. There's the Pirate TV radio station. They have some great opportunities, particularly your first year. WSOU, the radio station, is very well known in the area and a great starting point for students if that's more of your interest. So you definitely want to do different things like that. If you're a little bit more in the communication or PR realm, I think it's going to be trying to build up your writing or presentation skills as much as possible, whether that's something like the Setonian or the Diplomatic Envoy or the Stillman Exchange, one of the 3 papers or publications on campus. But that one's going to be about building out a portfolio as well. I would say it may not be as critical as coming in as early as some of the other majors that we talked about, but probably your first semester, you do want to come in and really start getting some exposure and getting an understanding. And I think particularly it's part of the conversation I'd recommend having with Juliana is kind of what within communication you're interested in. And, what do you want to try out? Maybe talk to some alumni who are working different areas and kind of get a feel, because communication is great. There's a lot of different things you can do with it, but I think it's one of those degrees where because it gives you so much flexibility, there's a little bit more on you to kind of build out the plan that makes sense for you. If that makes sense. If not, tell me and I can try and clarify. Yeah. Any other questions, specific, general, anything else I can do to help you guys out with our time today? See somebody typing. So sorry, I know silence is not always great. I'm just waiting to see what it is. While I wait for David to type it in, one of the other things I will say, it's not in any of the slides, but one of the pieces of advice that I will give you, and I think you're going to hear this from a lot of the different administrators on campus and, a lot of the faculty, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is just go out there, be proactive, and take advantage of the great resources that are there, not just my office. I mean, across the board, right? Go out there and try different things and put yourself out there. That's, I wish there was something where I could say, hey, if you go do this, you're going to achieve your goals. Great. You'll be successful. I'd make a lot of money. I'd remove a lot of stress. It'd be a win-win across the board. But the reality is there's not like one guaranteed thing that I can, recommend for you, but I can tell you the students that put themselves in the best position to be successful are the ones that are proactive, take advantage of opportunities, and put themselves out there. And I know that can be easier or harder depending on your comfort zone and, how comfortable you are with those different things. And certainly I would say try different things, whether it's going with a friend if that's not in your wheelhouse, or if that is, great, hit the ground running. But I think that's one of the best things that I can tell you is that the more you put yourself out there, the better the opportunities and the easier that road is going to be for you. And that's always going to be one of my recommendations. And if you want help getting started, you can certainly come in. We're happy to help. And you're going to have the different peer advisors. They're going to be happy to help. I mean, I think they're fantastic. Olivia, you can speak a little bit more to that than I can, but I think they are absolutely fantastic at that. And, the folks over in Center for Academic Success, but I know a lot of times that's a little bit easier with your peer advisor and, mentors you have there. So, but yeah, I have my email there. I put my phone number there. There's the general contact for the office. You do have the slideshow. My apologies. I didn't know it wasn't up the other half the time, but, please feel free to follow up if you have questions. And certainly, I'll be here for another minute or two if anybody has questions they want to ask, afterwards, or if you think of something. But welcome to campus and enjoy the next few weeks. I'm sure it'll go faster than it feels. But I think it's going to be exciting, and I think you guys are going to have a great time when you get to campus. So there's one other thing, actually, I would say. During your first semester, regardless of your major, do go on Handshake and get that set up, because the way that works is actually your recommendations are based on your profile, and the more you use the system, so the sooner you start getting stuff in there and start exploring it, the better and more powerful that tool is going to be for you. So sorry, that is the one other recommendation I would give you. You won't be able to set it up until, I believe, after ad drop is when that will get set up in there. It's like some of the other tools. But I would say at some point in September, October, try and get set up in there as soon as possible. And if you have questions, email, stop in, whatever, we're happy to help you with that. We do drop-ins that would be perfect for. If you go on our website, we have some tips and tools for how to get started, a user guide, all that fun stuff. But that is one other thing I would say to do your first semester. But otherwise, it was nice to virtually meet everybody. I'm glad we could all get together from New Jersey to Florida, the East Coast there representing the majority of it. If anybody from Maine, I think that would complete the whole East Coast there for us, the whole range. But otherwise, it was nice to meet folks. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and look forward to seeing the students and any parents here on campus in the fall.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just to reiterate, this recording will be up on Seton Hall's YouTube page in like 2 or 3 days if you ever want to come back to it. And keep an eye on your emails for stuff from both student engagement, housing, the Career Center. The next couple of weeks we'll start getting busy right up until move-in. But yeah, welcome to Seton Hall, and have a good summer, guys.
Welcome.